here on set, live from D.C., is political guru. You know him, Karl Rove. Good to see you, Karl.
Good to be here. Was that Neil Cavuto hanging from that telephone pole outside the Wrigley Field? I thought so. It looked like it.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. He was pretty excited about that.
Exactly.
All right. People have said very, very narrow path. Has any of that changed?
No. I mean, look, it's gotten better for him in the last week. It was actually gotten better for him in the last two and a half weeks. As he got a more disciplined campaign and stopped talking about Miss Universe and started talking about Obamacare, stopped talking about suing women who'd alleged he'd groped them, and started talking about making America's defenses stronger. And when he got on the things that people cared about, he began to bring Republicans home, and the ballot was closing. How much that has been accelerated by Friday, we don't fully know. My gut tells me about 2/3 of his gain has been as a result of Republicans coming home, and less than 1/3 from what happened last Friday.
Coming home. I mean, that was the challenge for some Republicans all along, conservatives saying, I simply can't vote for him. But at the end of the day, you're left with an alternative, which clearly doesn't represent conservative ideals.
And he removed the obstacle, which was when he would go out and say something stupid, like attacking former Miss Universe, they'd say that just reinforces my doubts. But for the last 3 weeks, particularly since the last debate, he has been focused and disciplined. He's been reading off the teleprompter. He's been making points about Obamacare. He's also been supported by events. I mean, there are lots of coverage in all of these early and a lot of coverage in these critical states about the increases in health care costs under the Affordable Care Act, and he's been playing off of that.
But it's not just that, Karl. I mean, sticker shock galore, I think, across the country in terms of Obamacare, but also the FBI reopening this investigation. You know, and people said, look, we've been down that road before, and voters they've already baked that in. I said, well, you know, they've baked it in once. Karl, have they baked it in twice?
Well, they may have, because remember, you have in an ABC Washington Post poll, 95% of Clinton supporters have an unfavorable opinion of Donald Trump, 90% strongly. 97% of Trump supporters have an unfavorable opinion of Hillary Clinton, 90% strongly. You're not going to get a lot of movement out of that. What the movement is to be found in the 7% who are undecided in a four-way race, the 8% that are undecided in a two-way race. That's where you're going to get the pliability, and that's why I think it's more likely that most of this is coming from things that are unconnected with it. We won't really have a good look until probably tomorrow or the next day, when there are polls that have been conducted entirely after the Halloween weekend. Really hard to get a good poll on a weekend, really hard when it's a holiday weekend like Halloween. So polls that have been out in the field Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Will give us a better indication.
Will give us a better indication.
Let's talk about enthusiasm, because he's got enthusiasm. His base is more committed to him, thus I would think more willing to get out to the voting booth.
And I think that's why part of this is moving his direction. They're getting enthused for two reasons. One is the conduct of his campaign is giving them greater confidence, and that's probably where, as a result of Friday, his people's enthusiasm is he's actually got a chance to win. I think I'm going to vote, and that's where she's got a problem, because there are two emotions in reaction to Friday. Some people on her side will say, by God, we're going to do everything we can to help her now, but there are also going to be some people who are a little bit less enthusiastic. They're still for her, but they're starting to say, oh God, we have to go through this again.
So early night, late night, any predictions for how long I'm going to be working on Tuesday?
You're going to be working late night. I mean, it's look, I mean, think about it. We don't have Nevada as a battleground state. This could come down to Nevada. Arizona comes in late. Florida comes in at 7 o'clock for the central part, for the eastern part of the state, but the central time zone doesn't close until 8. So we will have a lot of states that are going to be voting late into the evening, and returns coming in late into the evening. We'll get it settled before Hawaii closes down at midnight and Alaska at 1 a.m. Eastern time, but we're going to be waiting around, particularly when we get into the Senate races in the House.
Okay, it's going to be an interesting night for sure. Karl Rove.
For every political junkie, there's the night of the year.
Have you ever seen anything like this?
Yeah, not in our lifetime. No, we've had weirder elections in our history, but this is the weirdest of our lifetime.
Karl Rove, thank you,
Thanks.
sir.
You bet.
All right.